Hi everyone, I'm back. So we have to continue on design training. We're now on learning and transfer of training. Now, what is learning and transfer of training? Learning refers to a relatively permanent change in human capabilities. And when we say you learn, it means you'll be able to apply what you have learned from the topics that you receive or from the trainings or seminars that you have attended. So, transfer of training refers to trainees effectively and continually applying what they learn in training to their jobs. And there are two types of transfer. We have the generalization, wherein the trainees have the ability to apply what they have learned on the job or work problems and situations. Then the maintenance refers to the process of trainees continuing to use what they learned over time. So these two types of transfer can be used depends on the situation. Now I want to show you the model of learning and transfer of training. As you can see, the trainee characteristics, the training design, and the work environment contributes to learning and transfer of training. Now, what are the learning outcomes? First, we have the verbal information that involves specialized knowledge, including names, labels, facts, and bodies of knowledge. We have also intellectual skills, concepts, and rules critical to solve problems, serve customers, and create products. It can also be a motor skills, wherein there is a coordination of physical movements. We have also attitudes, beliefs, and feelings that predispose a person to behave in a certain way. Cognitive strategies to regulate thinking and learning. And they relate to decisions regarding what information to attend to, how to remember, and how to solve problems. Now, before we proceed, let's discuss the different theories under learning. We have the reinforcement, social learning, goal theories, needs, expectancy, adult learning, and information processing theory. For the reinforcement theory, it emphasizes that people are motivated to perform or avoid behaviors because of past outcomes of behavior. Say, for example, uh, you don't already want to do the same thing like drinking liquors because you already experienced being humiliated by other people. So that's an example of reinforcement theory. Trainers need to identify what outcomes learners find most positive and negative, and they link these outcomes to acquiring new knowledge and skills. Now, there are processes in reinforcement theory. We have the positive reinforcement, wherein there is a pleasurable outcome resulting from a behavior. Out of that thing that happens to you, you become a better person. That is a positive reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is the removal of an unpleasant outcome. Of course, you're already avoiding the kind of behavior that might give a negative impact on you. Then extinction is withdrawing positive or negative reinforcement to eliminate a behavior. Then punishment involves providing an unpleasant outcome after a behavior leading to a decrease in that behavior. Next, we have the social learning theory. It emphasizes that people learn by observing models of behavior, emulating behavior, and receiving reinforcement and rewards. Yes, sometimes people learn through just observing the person, especially if they have an idol, right? They learn through that by just simply observing that person. Someday I will become like that. Okay? Then learning new skill or behaviors comes from directly experiencing the consequences of using that behavior or skill, or the process of observing others and seeing the consequences of their behavior. Say, for example, I will observe that person if she really uh, been successful in her career. By that, I will also follow her footsteps. That's an example of social learning truth. Okay. Under social learning theory, we have what we call self-efficacy. This is a person's judgment about whether he or she can successfully learn knowledge and skills. Self-efficacy can be increased through verbal persuasion, logical verification, modeling, past accomplishment. And then we have here the processes that involves attention, retention, motor reproduction, then motivational processes. Next is the goal theories. This is still a part of learning theory. Goal setting theory assumes that behavior results from a person's conscious goals and intentions. If he has a goal that he needs to achieve, that's the time that person will do something in order to attain that goal. Okay, goal orientation refers to the goals held by a trainee in a learning situation. It can include a learning orientation or a performance orientation. So under the goal orientation, learning orientation relates to trying to increase ability and competence in a task. Through what? Through acquiring knowledge, skills, okay? People with a learning orientation view mistakes as useful for learning. Yes, we learn through mistakes at times in the context of our tasks. Performance orientation refers to a desire to look good in comparison to others. Individuals with a performance orientation avoid mistakes because they do not want to appear foolish. These are the people who are perfectionists. Okay? Trainers should strive to promote a learning orientation among trainees, set goals around experimentation, they emphasize competition, create a community of learning, provide constructive feedback when trainees make mistakes. Of course, we are attending training to learn, to improve, right? So that by the time we're ready, we can already apply that kind of training. So we need feedback so that we know what are the things we should avoid by that. Okay? The need theories. You have heard this many times. One of the need theories speaks with the Abraham Maslow hierarchy. We have the 5 hierarchy of needs: the physiological, the safety, social esteem, and self-actualization. Another one, we have other first theory, the same as with Maslow. We have the existence or the ERG. The first one, E, stands for existence. That includes the physical needs such as food, clothing, and shelter. Relatedness, interpersonal needs in personal and professional settings. The growth, the needs for personal development. We have also McClelland's theory, the need for achievement, need to achieve a challenging goals, prove something, and recognition. And we know that people learn, and when we are motivated to learn when this kind of needs were met. Okay, when we achieve something in our life, that's also one motivation that we have to learn more. Okay, the need for power, need to dominate and influence others, the need for affiliation, need to be a part of something, desire, and social relationships. Now, what are the implications of the need theory? Trainers should attempt to understand learners' needs, explain how training will meet needs, and adapt training. If certain basic needs are not met, motivation may suffer. Training should not necessarily attempt to meet all needs, however. Okay? We have also the expectancy theory as part of the learning theory. And expectancy theory involves 3. We have the expectancy, instrumentality, and valence. Based on this model, trainers should ensure trainees are confident in their ability, that is expectancy. Provide and communicate valued reward. Once you attended the training, it will be added to your ranking point. That is one example of the reward. That is the valence. Ensure valued rewards are received if trainees successfully learn and transfer. Through what? By sharing it with your coworkers. That is transfer. Okay? We have also adult learning theory. Adults have the need to know why. They have a need to be self-directed, bring more work-related experiences to the learning situation, enter a learning experience with a problem-centered approach, and are extrinsically and intrinsically motivated because they're already adult. What are the implications of this? Mutual planning and collaboration. Use learner experiences for examples and applications. Develop instruction based on learners' interests and competencies. Provide opportunities for application. Ensure training is problem-centered. And the last, we have the information processing theory. We are dealing already with the brains. The message that comes from the stimulus that is received by our five senses goes to the sensory register. Sometimes it involves in the short-term memory wherein we can remember not everything but those important things only. Then it will be a long-term memory once you already remember it, even it passes for a longer time. And of course, the effects of that process involves the environment as well, and of course the feedback. Okay? After discussing the theories of learning, we need also to discuss the theories of training. But before that, transfer can be enhanced by understanding the type of skill. We have two. We have the close and the openness skill. Close skills involve responding to predictable situation with standardized response. The openness skills involve responding to variable situations with adaptive responses. The close skills can be promoted to transfer by providing detailed checklists to follow, provide high fidelity practice, shape favorable attitudes toward compliance, and reward compliance. For open skills, teach general principles, shape favorable attitudes toward experimentation, allow trainees to make mistakes without fear of punishment, and provide rewards for experimentation. Now, here are the theories of the transfer of training. We have the identical elements, stimulus generalization, and cognitive theory. You can see here the different emphasis on the three theories. For the identical, training environment is identical to work environment. For the stimulus, general principles are applicable to many different work situations. For cognitive, meaningful material encoding schemes enhance storage and recall of training. So the appropriate conditions for the first one, the identical work environment features are predictable and stable. And the type of transfer is near. For stimulus, work environment is unpredictable and highly variable. So the type of transfer is far. For cognitive, all types of training and environments. And the type of transfer can either be near and far. Now, let's move on with the learning process. So it involves mental and physical processes. Learning depends on the learner's cognitive processes, organizing the content in a mental presentation and relating the content to existing knowledge from long-term memory. Now, learning is a function of 8 processes: expectancy, perception, working storage, semantic encoding, long-term storage, retrieval, generalizing, gratifying. Here are the strategies to influence how training content is coded. Through rehearsal, learning through repetition. Sometimes the things that we have taught, especially we as teachers, cannot be remembered already by our students once it passed for weeks, so we need to recall. Rehearsal, then organizing, finding similarities in themes, then elaboration, relating the material to other more familiar knowledge. Now here are the learning cycle. Learning can be considered a dynamic cycle involving 4 stages. We have the concrete experience, that is the work problem, then reflective observation, thinking about the problem, abstract conceptualization, generation of ideas about the problem, and finally, active experimentation, the implementation of ideas directly to the problem. Now, what are the implications of the learning process and transfer of training for instruction? Employees need to know the objectives. Of course, they need to know what I'm going to do with that kind of training. So, an objective may have 3 components: what the learner is expected to do or know, quality or level of acceptable performance, and conditions under which the learner is expected to perform. Employees need meaningful content. Content should be linked to current job experiences and tasks that have meaning. Material should be presented using familiar concepts, terms, and examples. Content should be aligned with personal and professional goals. Another one, employees need to practice. Practice should involve the trainee actively include overlearning, then take the appropriate amount of time, include the appropriate unit of learning. You know that there are certain hours that our brain can take a lot of information already. So we need to take also to consider the amount of time. Okay, employees need to commit content to memory. Make trainees aware of how they are creating, processing, and assessing memory. Training programs must be explicit on content and elaborate on details, and all the learning can help. Also, they need feedback about how well they are meeting training objectives. Feedback should be specific and follow the behavior as closely as possible. They also need a number of pre-practice conditions. Provide strategies that will result in the greatest learning. Encourage trainees to reflect. Provide advanced organizers. Help trainees set challenging learning goals. Create realistic expectations for trainees. And for training in teams, clarify roles and responsibilities. They also need practice involving experience. Learners need practice involving direct experience. Our learning is needed, which involves continuing to practice the new skill or behavior beyond the point at which the learner has demonstrated proficiency more than once. Incorporate errors in the learning process. Employees learn through observation, experience, and interaction. Yes, individuals learn through observation and imitating the actions of models. Trainers should promote three key types of interaction: the learner content, the learner instructor, and the learner learner. Employees need the training program to be properly coordinated and arranged, of course. Uh, how they will attend the training if it is not properly coordinated, right? Communicate courses to employees. Send them emails. Tell them there is a training about this. Then prepare instructional materials. Arrange the training facility and room, and it must be conducive. Testing equipment that will be used, of course. We need the multimedia. Okay. We need also computers, the sounds. Okay. Then provide support during instruction. Distribute evaluation materials after the training. Of course, they need to know if the training has successfully been given to our trainees. Okay, encourage trainees' responsibility and self-management. Self-management refers to a person's attempt to control aspects of decision making and behavior. And it involves setting goals to use skills on the job, identifying obstacles and ways to overcome them, and self-administering rewards. Ensure a supportive work environment. So the characteristic of a positive climate for transfer includes supervisors and co-workers encourage transfer, task used to use new skills, lack of punishment for using new skills, extrinsic reinforcement, consequences, including the intrinsic reinforcement. Now here are the instructional emphasis for learning outcomes. We have the internal conditions, are processes within the learner that are necessary for learning. We have also external conditions, processes in the learning environment that are necessary for learning. External conditions should directly influence forms of instruction, and they should be designed to facilitate the internal conditions. And that ends my topic on chapter 4. We'll continue chapter 5 next video. It is already about the program design. Thank you and have a nice day.